streaming. Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 253, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph. That man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
We are back for another episode. How are you doing this evening, Kip?
I am actually frustrated with YouTube right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. Just trying to find the stream.
Yeah, they changed the interface. Now I can't find anything.
Yeah, the new beta YouTube Studio thing is not the best. It's a little annoying. Takes some getting used to trying to find things. I've gotten a little better, but I use it a little more frequently than you do. So
Yeah, well, what I normally do is use the beta and then I tell it to go back to Creator Studio Classic and then I can find it.
yeah, if you go to the beta one, and on the left-hand side there's like other features, and then that brings up a little sub list of a little pop-out list. Go to live stream now, and that will take you to the stream that you can get. Nobody else can get that one, but you can.
Well, now I'm up to speed.
There you go. That's how you do's it, guys. The rest of you can just find it by, going to our YouTube channel, and it should be the first thing that pops up. I think I've got it set up to the streams go first. And if you've subscribed and put the notifications, you should get a notification when they go live as well. So there you go. There's how you do that. Hey, speaking of things going live, guess what? Prolific Games made their Kickstarter goal. They have reached their goal and have already surpassed it. Their goal was $12,000. They are now at $13,521, 240 backers, and there's still 7 days to go. So if you are listening to our voice, go check out the Kickstarter. You can find it in the links below, and that can take you directly to the Kickstarter. You can go back it, and they have stretch goals for it now, and in another $500 we will get the Lumberjack Calendar Universal card, which is awesome and hilarious and great. So plus they did add 2 new cards to it. The social media stretch goal cards both got put in there. Worn Through and Paul's Breakfast, which is Paul's Breakfast is awesome. So I like that. That one looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, I am all in on that.
It's nice that they didn't have to wait till the last day to get funded, and
yeah,
we can actually start thinking about, hey, maybe we'll reach some stretch goals.
Yeah, the first, so they've got the first 3 stretch goals shown on here. The first one is the Lumberjack Calendar Universal card. The second one is Timber Universal card. The third one is the one I really want, which is the Forever Gauntlet Company Store card. That's gonna be great. I love their play on words. I love the way they do stuff. I would really like to get to 20,000 and get an extra bonus game, a copy of Pack Wars, which I think that might be. I had forgot they had put out that game. That might be the only game that I don't have the retail copy of.
I actually have that.
Do you have that one? I want to know why I don't have that one.
Because I'm special.
Yeah, you are. You
I
are.
think I got it from them at Gen Con.
Oh, that could be. That could be.
Yeah.
I have the. They sent us. That's one of their first games that they sent us a print and play copy of, I
Yes.
believe. So I have the print and play one. Just don't have the retail one. Come on, Bill, John, hook me up. Why don't I have that game yet? Guess I need to go buy it.
Because they don't like you that much, I guess.
Right? Yeah, you're their favorite. I know.
Yeah, well, no surprise there.
Right? So yeah, if you guys want to help out, if you haven't done it yet, you still got 7 days to do it. So get on over to Kickstarters, look up Flapjacks and Sasquatch's company store, or just search for Prolific Games on there. They have the perfect name because when you search Prolific Games, their stuff pops up. Um, it is not hidden in anything. So
Yeah. And if you think, well, I'll
super.
just wait till Kickstarter's over and get the retail copy, if you listen to our episode where we had Bill on, you will realize it's actually cheaper to get it through the Kickstarter. So do it.
Yeah. Yes, it
Do it. Don't
is.
wait.
Go get it. Go get it now. All right. Before we get into the main topic, I want to do a little feel sorry for me time here.
Okay.
Um,
Should
I've
I get my violin?
Yeah, you probably should. I'm gonna need a little bit of cheese to do this. I'm gonna, just bitch and moan my own little thing here. Uh, as most of you know, I am a digital comic guy. I like reading stuff on my tablet. I like them not taking up a ton of space. And so I've been doing a lot of things digitally. And being able to carry a whole bunch of comics on my tablet when I go on little trips and things like that, if you go family vacations. Like this summer, we're going to go to Portland and Seattle, and we're going to be gone for a couple weeks or like 10 days. And I'm going to be able to take a lot of comic books with me. I'm going to be able to take a couple full series of completed series books with me on my tablet that I wouldn't normally be able to do. And I like that. However, I have a couple of problems with it. One, there's not a really good program for it. Well, I take that back. There is not a really good program that is in still in production. There's a lot of freeware ones and a lot of ones that people have made and you can purchase them for like the one that I use currently right now is Comic Rack, and I love that program. That program is amazingly awesome. However, it has not been updated or um, improved for, I think we're approaching 2 years now. I think the guy who made it, it was a freeware. You got it for free, and you could donate money to him, which I did because I like that program so much. Plus, I bought the pro version on my tablet so to make things work a little bit easier and give me a little more functionality and not have ads and stuff in it. So, like, I've given him money for it. I appreciate everything he did, and I understand, man. That thing has got to take up a ton of time to
Oh,
keep up
yeah.
to date and work on a program like that. But that program is awesome, and there is no other program like it out there. So I continue to use it, even though it's a stagnant program. It's got no backing, it's got nothing, and I wish there was a company that would go get it because it is great for DRM free digital comics. I know people are going to come and tell me, we'll just use Comixology, or Marvel's got the Marvel Unlimited app, and DC's got the DC Comics app, and you can go do that. Except those comic books cost still $5 a book for a digital version. And if I wait a month, then it'll come down to like $3 or maybe $2. Where now I can get I purchased just the other day on Humble Bundle. I purchased every Transformer comic book that has been published by IDW in the last 20 years for $15. 20 years worth of comics for $15. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's it is that is the way I want DRM free stuff. Also, the problem that I run into is with those other comic book apps like Marvel and DC and Comixology. Their platforms are really good, but they also protect all of the stuff. Like you don't get any of it. You don't get a copy. You don't get a PDF or a CBR or a CBZ of the comic book to put on your computer. You have to have connectivity to Comixology or Marvel, or and you can do a temporary thing where you can get one, but you can't organize it in your own collection. If Comixology decides they don't want to do this anymore, they're all gone. And I don't. I really am. My concern is that paying to $3 for a comic book per comic book from Comixology, the like paying that amount and not having a copy of it on a digital copy that is mine, that is protected by me and not still somebody else's. I don't want to rent the comic for $2, $3. I don't want to do that. I mean, why can't I can go to the library and get the book for free. I can go spend, $5 and get it from my local comics shop, and I have a physical copy myself. Give me the digital DRM free. Let me put it on my comic reader. Let me keep it on my computer so that when you fail and you go out of business, or you have a bad business model, or you just decide, oh, we don't want to keep these books on here anymore because we have so many of them, I still have mine. So that's I like DRM free stuff. I still get DRM free video games. I do use Steam, but I use Steam as a catalog and not necessarily to purchase all my games. I buy some of my games through other places that allow DRM free, and I install them on my computer, and then I just put them through Steam so that I can use them to keep up to date. That's all I need. I mean, let Comixology would be not, like, if they'd let me do that, let me log into their system, create an account through there, and say, hey, go scan my computer for all these books, and and I just use you as my catalog. I'd be all for that, but they don't allow you to do that. It has to be purchased from their app.
Yeah.
and and
And the renting the book that you just talked about got me to thinking, you know, with my PlayStation 4, I download games that I get from the PlayStation Plus,
yeah. Hmm.
their online stuff. And it's like, well, I really am renting that game as well. Then I got to think about it, but it's not as bad as comic books, because once PlayStation 4 is done and it's PlayStation 5, if I would have bought the disc, I was really renting the game because it won't be able to play on the PlayStation 5.
Right. Right.
So, but with comics, I really understand your pain, because it doesn't matter if there's a.
Well, and that's the other thing is, you know that PlayStation, Sony is not going out of business. And I know that Comixology is owned by Amazon, but
Right.
it's still a comic book thing. Doesn't have other books on it. It's not, it's just comic books, and at some point they could just go, ah, you know what? We're just not making enough money off of this thing. Let's scale it back. We don't have the server space to hold this number of comic books. So it's at any point they can rein that back, and it concerns me. Like, that's my critique. That's my fear, is I don't want to lose all the stuff that I've spent money for. And if you think about it, like the stuff that you download for PlayStation Plus, if you download a new game, and I could be wrong, but Xbox 360 still does that. They have the games with gold membership that you download. It's on the hard drive on my 360. I don't have to be, once it's installed on there, if I'm not connected, if I unplug the internet, I could still play that game.
Yeah, and it works that way with the PlayStation.
Right. So,
It's just,
but
just like my Xbox 360, it never gets turned on because I have a PS4.
right, right.
So once I get the PS5 or if I go Xbox or whatever the hell I end up doing,
Yeah.
I won't turn it on again probably.
Right. Right. But
But that's a
that's
different conversation because
yeah.
that's
But that's
beyond comics.
also
That's
yeah.
hardware and
That's your
software
choice.
and
Like that's your
gone and
choice.
cheap and
You could still play that game even when they stop supporting it. Even when Xbox or let's say PlayStation 4 goes to PlayStation 5, let's just assume it's PlayStation 5 for shits and giggles. Um, the uh, the problem is that you can still, or in your concept, you could still plug in your PlayStation 4. You could still play those games you download, even though that Sony has left PlayStation 4 behind and gone to PlayStation 5. If Comixology decides, after I've spent $5 a comic book from them, if they decide, you know what, we're done with this Comixology, let's go to the next one, we're not going to support this one anymore, those are all gone. I don't have a file that I could put on something else. Unless Comixology says, yep, all that stuff's going to come over with this. That would be like saying, you know, that would be like saying PlayStation, like Sony would be like, oh no, we'll allow you to take your PlayStation 4 games and play them on our PlayStation 5. All that stuff you downloaded, you could still play over here. That would be really cool. You know, I don't know. It's frustrating. And right now, what I'm doing is the whole reason this came up is that I've got just under 5,000 digital comics, and I'm having to go through and reorganize 5,000 digital comics, and I'm only about halfway through after 5 days of doing it.
well,
So
I can understand your pain there. That's for sure.
it's a lot of comics, and I want to go in and read. There is one silver lining to this, though, is that I am as going through this, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I had this whole series. I should go read that again. Like so, the first thing that's gonna go on my tablet once I get this all up and running again is the Six Gun series because I never finished the comic book Six Gun, and I really like that comic. So, um, uh, what's up, El Crudo? For chatting here, he says you will offer El Crudo #1 for free. And some people who download it end up buying the physical copy and pre-bought #2. Yeah, that is definitely a marketing idea right there, and you know that's not a bad way to go. um, I don't consider myself a collector because to me a collector is somebody who's buying the comics to bag and board to be able to resell at a later date, or to have a collection that they could then say. Um, when I moved, that was my decision to move from physical to digital. Was that I'm not really a collector; I'm just a reader. But I like being able to go back and reread older issues. Like I've read um, the uh, the entire run of Transformers from the early '80s. I've gone and purchased those, and those are comics that if I were to try to buy those physical copy now, it would cost me in the thousands of dollars to get those, and will probably maybe even tens of thousands. I don't know because those are old comics that are probably really hard to find. And but yeah, I will dive into the dollar bin too. Yeah, I like that stuff. But I also like being able to store a whole lot of them on my computer and not have tons of long boxes. I have 6 long boxes and 4 short boxes down in my basement that I just don't get into nearly enough because they're behind a bunch of stuff. But I have all those digitally as well, so I don't have to and
Do you
still
have a
read them.
box of latex gloves that you have to put on before you pick any of them up?
Nope,
Okay.
nope, nope. I'm not that bad. They are bagged and boarded, but that's mainly so that they stay. upright, because if you don't bag and board your comics and you stack them up, they'll start like sliding down, and the comics will end up getting like folded in half, unless you can get them really tight in there. But the boards just help keep them standing upright, so you can hold more of them in there. It's crazy, but comic stuff. I like comics. I'm gonna try to get back into it. Um, I want to get back into reading some of them. I'm currently right now. I'm in uh, the G's in my alphabetical order of comic books, and I ran into the Grimm Fairy Tales stuff, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I had so many of these. Like Grimm Fairy Tales by Zenoscope. One, the covers are beautiful and amazing and very cheesecakey, but very pinup artist type stuff. I like that. Um, I like the covers, the inside of them. The art's not as pinup looking. It's a little bit better, but they take the Grimm fairy tale stuff takes your normal fairy tales like Alice in Wonderland and things like that, and makes them a little more horror, and they're really fun. So looking forward to getting back and reading those. Uh, so yeah, that's what I got. Comic books, comic books, comic books.
So, end rant.
End rant. I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. Appreciate you guys listening to me. It's been a pain. I'm
Yeah,
about
I can understand that. If I had 5,000 to something and I had to go through that, I'd be like, well, I guess it's never getting done.
yeah. Well, and the whole reason I'm doing it is so that I can. The nice thing about Comic Rack is I can pair it with my tablet, and I can set up little playlists within Comic Rack in their smart playlists, so they automatically go find the comics and add them to the list. So I can be like, let's say I want to read Sixth Gun. I can say, hey, give me all the titles of Sixth Gun and put them in here and put them in numerical order, and voila. But if you don't have all the metadata for all the comics, then it doesn't really work. So I've got to go in and make sure I got all the metadata in there for all those. And when I built this new computer, I had never put Comic Rack back on there. So on my tablet, but I figure it'd be easier to put it on here. So that's what I'm doing. Joys, joys.
There,
All
there
right.
you have it.
Enough comic stuff. Let's get into some movies. Well, this is kind of a little bit of both here.
Yeah.
Uh, the Venom movie came out on Blu-ray and DVD. I don't know, probably within the last week or two. I think. I don't think it's been out that long.
I
I
have
didn't.
no idea.
I didn't look that up, but
I can't
I
remember the last time I bought a DVD or Blu-ray.
well, where'd you got it from the library?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Of course you got it. Well, if you got it from the library, then more than likely it it hasn't been out that long. Trying to see
I don't know.
if it's
So
there. I don't know.
I'm a big advocate of getting stuff like movies from the library. For one, it's free. The downside, though, is if you don't catch. So we put things on reserve. You can go to the website, say, put this on reserve, and then it's like taking a number. Now
Yeah.
serving number 43 or whatever. A lot of times we're like, number 300. It's like, great, it's going to take a freaking year to get this.
So I said that it just came out. I'm an idiot. Apparently, it came out in December. The DVD came out in December.
That's right. Geekvice, we're always on the pulse of what's going on.
Wow, it had slid under my radar. I guess I've been busy with a bunch of other stuff and didn't realize that it was out because this was a movie that I wanted to pick up and I wanted to watch. And so case in point, I just got it this last week and I watched it this last weekend. And hey, guess what? I really like this movie. I, I know Kip had talked about it when he saw it in the theater and said, "Hey, you guys need to go see this because it's really good." I thought it was really good as well. I really enjoyed it. Um, I, I when you said that you liked it, I went and looked up like critic reviews, and one of the first places I go is Rotten Tomatoes because I like the metadata, like crowdsourcing. That's what it is, not funding, crowdsourcing way of ranking this stuff. And I thought it was really funny that the critics gave it a 29%, so really bad, but the audience score is at 81.
Which I would agree with the 81 a lot more than I would the lower
Yeah,
score.
absolutely. I mean, I might go a little lower than the 80s. I might put it in the 70s, but that's still like with. And I guess the question is, what is, to me, in these, you can't think of them as like school grades. You know, you say like 100 is perfect and 50 is average and 0 is downright unwatchable. I would put it above the 50. I'd say it's above average. You know, this is a movie that's got some substance to it. Um, it's got a good story to it. I really like the way they handled the um, the how to make Venom a good guy, which they didn't really make him a good guy. They just made him not the bad guy, less worse than the other guy.
Yeah, and there is a huge difference between being the bad guy and not being the good guy. Does that make sense? Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounded right.
yeah, yeah. That's no, that's absolutely right. And one, Tom Hardy is really good. He is awesome
Yeah.
in this movie. He's really good. Um, so some of my complaints with this fall in line with because we'll start with the stuff that I didn't like. One, I didn't like the fact that there were so many symbiotes that they had brought back from space, and they had all these samples, and that they kind of had it to where it had to be the perfect match. To me,
Yeah.
um, that was a big hole. Like, how are the like? I liked more when Venom and Eddie were actually having a conversation, and Venom made the comment of, "I chose you. I wanted you." And to where it was like the symbiote knew that Eddie was the person he needed for what he wanted to do. He could survive in anybody, but he wanted Eddie because Eddie's motivation and his physicality, or something to him, his physical nature, met with what Venom wanted. I liked that kind of concept better than this idea that it had to be a perfect match, and that if they weren't a
Well,
perfect match,
what
the
if
host
it
would die.
didn't have to be a perfect match? The symbiote just decided this person is better served as a meal than as a host.
Yeah,
Because
and
the human said it had to be a perfect match, but I don't think the symbiotes ever really did.
but if you think about it, if a symbiote can't survive without the human host, then the human host, then it. I agree with you to an extent, except the symbiote has to look out for itself. And if it eats the body and knows that it can't survive outside of the body, then it wouldn't eat, you wouldn't eat your house if you knew you would die outside your house. Does that make
Yeah, but
sense?
you would, if you knew you could just take over your neighbor's house, you might.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like the ones that were contained in the solitary confinement in like where they were running all the tests, you would think the symbiote, if it could keep the body alive, that it would have, for the sheer fact that it didn't have anywhere else to go. It was stuck in that one person. And that's where I thought like the science of it kind of fell apart a little bit on me. Um, and part of the reason why that fell apart was because there were so many of them. If they just had one, then they could have worked something out a little bit better. It could have been like, oh well, this host is dying. Well, let's see if we give it somebody else and let it jump from one to the next and just keep moving it for the same symbiote from host to host. They could humans could look at it and say, "Oh, it needs the perfect match." Where the symbiote's like, "No, I'm just saying this guy sucks. So if I make him Redline, you're gonna give me a new guy, and I'm gonna go to him. Oh, that guy sucks. I'm gonna redline him and wait till the next meal comes. Like, I'm just gonna keep feeding off of these people because you keep feeding me food, like the Brazilian steakhouse, you know? Like, that's if they only had one symbiote, or even two, you know, a limited number, they could have gotten away with just having Venom contained. And then when Venom got out, you know, because you had really at the end of the day, there were only two symbiotes out there. You only
Yeah.
saw two survive. So you didn't need all these others. You could have gotten away with just having one and having one test subject. And that be Venom that was contained and the other one that had gotten away that nobody knew about and it came walking back in as that little girl. Um, and that was the other thing. That was one thing that I did really like. I liked the fact that Riot symbiote. I like how the symbiotes all have these cool little names, like Venom and Riot, and um, I like that. But I liked how it jumped from person to person, as it's just like, hey, find this person. This is gonna get me where I want to go. Like that's what I liked seeing out of the symbiotes, and how it got to the person that it knew it needed to get to in order to get back into space. I thought that was great. I liked that part. Um, the other thing that concerns me about this movie, and it's more in, it has nothing to do with Venom, the movie itself, and is more about Sony's idea, long-term plan. So, Venom is known as a Spider-Man villain. That's what he's known for. He is not a superhero, and this movie doesn't make him out to be a superhero, but he is always known as Spider-Man's villain. The
Right.
way they set up Eddie Brock in this movie, he knows nothing of Peter Parker. He did not lose his job because of Peter Parker, which is in the comic books is the reason why Eddie Brock hates Peter Parker and why the Venom symbiote ends up attaching itself to Eddie Brock. And because he feeds off of the hate of Peter Parker, and Venom knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and Venom hates Spider-Man. So you see that connection now on why they're
Yeah,
evil and
yeah,
hate each
yeah, yeah.
other. That is gone. That that's going to take some creative writing to be able to bring the two of them together. And I was really hoping it would have worked great if they would have just had maybe Peter Parker was the photographer that was there when Eddie Brock decided to be an asshole to the super scientist guy that I forgot his name, you know, um, to Dr. Drake, it, it, something like get a Peter Parker name drop or something in there so that there's a connection between them and a hatred there that could be developed. This doesn't have that, and I don't know. Maybe Sony's not interested in that. Maybe they don't want to bring the Spider-Man and Venom together. Maybe they'll but they're such good opposites. They're such good, they would play so well together in a Spider-Man or Venom movie, having these two go against each other. It's kind of a shame if they would let that just go. And it just goes back to my concern is does Sony have a long-term plan with this, or are they just going movie to movie? Maybe we were all spoiled by the MCU and how Marvel has taken piece by piece and kept all these movies going together. Maybe Sony doesn't have that plan for Venom. Thoughts?
Or they do, and they just can't do anything because Tom Holland will spill the beans, and they just can't let him in on it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's okay. I'll give you that one. That could be it. That definitely could be it. Because that kid, man, yeah, he is He has definitely spilled some beans on stuff, hadn't he?
Yeah, but that makes me like him more.
Right? Yeah.
He's like the rest of us. If we knew, we'd tell.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
so he's just a fan like the rest of us. He just happens to get to be in the movie.
Yeah.
So,
So those are my two big complaints. I you know the I could have done without the girlfriend, Eddie Brock's girlfriend at the end of the movie. Like she was fine up to the point, but then when Venom and Eddie decided to go stop Drake and Riot, and then she's like, "Well, I can do bad guy, or I could do I forgot what she had said. She said something about like she could take him on. And it's like, no, you can't. Like, come on, just stay back. Like, she didn't need to be there. And I understand that like they got it to where she kind of helped with the whole sound frequency thing that she did know about, which I thought was really cool. I like that little nod to it. But there you could have done it differently than have her do it. It could have just been a frequency of of some other squealing of a radio or a feedback loop or something that caused them to go nuts. I, I
is
just
that in the comic books?
Yes, yes. The
Okay.
the sound frequency and the fire both are in the comic books are the weaknesses of the symbiotes. It is actually how. So in the comic books, the Venom symbiote joins with Spider-Man, just like in the really bad Spider-Man 3 movie. And the way in the comic books, the way Spider-Man gets the symbiote, like he realizes the symbiote's like not evil, but not good, has different motives and wants to do more harm. Like the symbiote is physically violent. Spider-Man doesn't want to kill anybody. The symbiote says, "I don't care if I kill people." Like Deadpool versus Captain America. That's what it is. And the way Spider-Man gets the symbiote off of him is he actually goes up to a clock tower. Is either a clock tower or a bell tower, like a church chime, like bell, one of those big bells, and it's ringing, and it causes the symbiote to like freak out, separate from Peter Parker, and then he webs it up, throws it on a rocket ship, and the rocket ship goes out into space. That's how he gets rid of Venom the first time. So
See, I'd like to see that in movie form.
see that, yeah, and that's I mean, they could still maybe do something like that. Maybe they do a Spider-Man movie where Venom is just kind of in passing, and the Venom symbiote like sees Peter Parker, like sees Spider-Man and says, "Ooh, that guy is way stronger than Eddie. I'm gonna leave Eddie and go join that guy." They could do something there, and then it causes then maybe Eddie's pissed off because Spider-Man took his power. I mean, I guess they could write it like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's not a closed door, that's for sure. I mean, there's things to do, you know.
yeah,
Eddie's a good guy, and maybe Venom gets tired of that,
yeah,
and they goes off to do his own thing, and then he realizes the guy he chose was even more of a good guy, and it's like, okay, I hate this guy more than I was bored with Eddie, so.
yeah.
And then
So
maybe Peter does something to piss Eddie off, and then ta-da, we're back online. Who knows?
yeah, yeah. It's I mean, it's sure possible. And the one thing that I like the fact um I like how they had Eddie and Venom talking to each other. I like in the comic books. I don't remember Venom having a personality. Um, it was basically a symbiote that kind of messed with Eddie's head less than like, and not so much like talk to him directly. But the I liked in the I liked in this movie the way the interaction between Eddie and Venom worked. I liked that there seemed to be a personality to Venom, and you got to kind of see that separate from Eddie. and then you got to see the two of them together, and I thought that was really good. I really liked that dynamic. That was top notch, and in my
And plus, it
opinion, really
had
well
one
done.
of the best lines in a movie. Well, not really a line, but a best sequence when that was like they got done fighting in his apartment, and they're looking out the window, and Venom goes jump, and then the next scene, Eddie's pushing the elevator button, and Venom goes pussy. That was awesome,
Yes,
and that's
yes,
what a movie like that needed. I mean,
yeah.
it was just great.
Oh, that was a great line. I like that one, and you even saw it so much as in the very end of the movie. This is not a spoiler for anybody, but at the very end of the movie, Eddie's in the convenience store with the guy robbing the lady again, and he goes into the whole Venom form, walks over to him, and threatens to rip off his legs, rip off his arms, rip off his legs, rip off his face, and leave him a faceless turd rolling down the street. And then just he goes, you know what, the hell with it, and just eats him.
Yeah.
That was like, that was perfect because it was the exact opposite. It was Venom trying to sound like that was Eddie. It was the Venom suit, the Venom body, with Eddie's talking. That was what Eddie was trying to say, trying to sound tough, and Venom just going, "No, that's not how you do it. You just do this," and just eat him. Like, that was awesome. I love that part, and that is where I think they can build on with the Venom movies. We can get more like that, and I feel like it will be kind of a, if Sony wanted to, they could make this their Deadpool. They
Yeah.
could add the comedic to it, ramp up the violence, ramp up the graphicness, take it to an R rating, but keep the comedic timing, and this could be done like that. Doesn't have to
Oh,
be.
absolutely.
They
And Venom is just anti-hero enough that it would totally work.
Yeah,
Just like the scene in the convenience store.
yeah,
Fuck it, let's just eat him.
yep,
If they decide to go Deadpool, he would say fuck it. I
yeah,
mean, they would have to ramp it up a little bit, but still.
yeah. It it definitely could be done, and but I would be okay if they didn't. I mean, this movie was fine, was really good for PG-13. I was okay with it. They could have upped it and gone to R, but it just would have, all it would have done, they would have just added probably some more language and actually shown some of the graphicness that the camera just turned away from. I mean, you didn't see the guy you get eaten by Venom, but you saw like Venom go like diving for his head. Pretty
Yeah.
obvious he ate him. Um, you know, it, so I'm good with it either way. But I also like the fact that there is a sequel expected. Release date is October of 2020, so we're a year and a half away. But um, I like that idea, and I would go I'd go see a second one.
Heck yeah, I've seen this one now twice, and it's worth seeing multiple times in my opinion. Um, I am curious of where Venom 2 is going to go,
Mm-hmm.
but this movie, if you haven't seen it, make the effort. We're saying if you haven't picked that up yet, that's what we're saying. But this movie had, to me, it's in between Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool as far as the level of humor. Guardians
Yeah.
of the Galaxy was silly. Deadpool was rated R funny,
Mm-hmm.
and Venom is like
In
PG
between.
13 funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it worked. I'm a person who uses the F word like some people breathe oxygen, but I I would have been okay with Venom going all Deadpoolish, but still PG-13 worked for me. I wasn't overly
Yeah.
disappointed.
I didn't feel like this movie was let down because it wasn't R-rated.
Yeah,
You know, so,
that's what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
That was
it,
my long-winded way of saying I wasn't
yeah,
let down.
yeah. No, I agree with you there. I really liked it. I thought this was a really good movie, and you should definitely check it out. Um, so now for just a little spoiler because I wanted to bring up something that I thought was really interesting. So if you haven't seen this movie, then you haven't seen the mid-credit scene. If you haven't seen the mid-credit scene, you're not going to understand anything I'm going to talk about because I'm going to talk about that mid-credit scene. One, that's Woody Harrelson, and he would be perfect. And I really hope you don't know who this person is. Did, I don't know. Did you see the name tag that this prisoner had?
I had to look him up
Cletus
because I
Cassidy.
didn't know. I didn't know, so I had to look it up.
Well, one, how awesome is it that the guy's name is Cletus? That is
Yeah,
awesome. But so in the comic books, Cletus Cassidy is Carnage, who is another symbiote. Cletus Cassidy is a serial killer. He is just clinically insane, sociopathic, like Joker level nuts.
and
And
why
this,
does it? What? Why does Woody Harrelson pull those characters off so
I
well?
don't know. I don't. That's a good question, but that is probably a question for Woody Harrelson's psychiatrist. Because, um, yeah, he just the look on his face when he turned around, like I'm just like, oh, that is awesome. Now, so that's what it was so awesome when when Woody Harrelson's character turns around and promises carnage when he escapes. So this strikes me as like makes me curious. It makes me curious is can they go back and like can they say that a symbiote has been on Earth before and there's one in Cletus already? The Carnage symbiote is already there, and that's what's making him nuts? Or, or is it going to be something where he gets out, goes on a rampage, and a symbiote somehow survived the all the stuff in the labs, and that's Carnage, and he attaches himself to Cletus. I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. I hope that we get I don't know if I want that to be Venom 2 or if I just want there to be maybe a little bit more. Like maybe there's another bad guy in Venom 2 or there's another setup or another, they tell a different story there, but you see maybe Cletus escapes prison or maybe you get like him, like another cameo type appearance just to kind of feed into this idea that he's out there. That would be kind of fun. Um, I also don't like because the problem that I run into the reason why this movie worked as Venom being an anti-hero is that the bad guy wasn't a full-on bad guy. He was a scientist that was trying to save the human race in his own warped sense of reality. He had a plan and he was trying to follow through this plan, and that was what he was trying to do, and that's why he had the symbiotes. That's why he was trying to merge with one of them so that we could basically repopulate another planet. These symbiotes would give us the ability to live on another planet, so that's what he was trying to do. It made sense.
But
If
you could
they,
also say then Dr. Drake is the equivalent of Tony Stark.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, you could, and that's the thing. Like, it's the difference. Like, you could say Drake and Tony Stark are at the same intelligence level, except one's idea of what he wanted to do was warped, and the other one has gone, you know, a non-warped way. It's the same
Yeah.
reason. It's the reason why Thanos is such a good bad guy is because Thanos isn't doing this because he wants to destroy half of the universe, like half the people in the universe. He's doing it because it's the only way this in his mind, it's the only way the universe will survive. That is a bad guy with a plan that is following through, and that is why Venom in this movie cannot be a hero but still be the hero. If you come
Yeah.
out with a serial killer type crazy chaos, you know, Carnage, you have this Carnage character in the next movie. Now Venom has to make the decision because that guy's just nuts. He's chaos. Venom is also chaos, but just not to the evil chaos. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And when you think of it in that way, it makes other Marvel films a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like, Venom ended up being the good guy because he liked Eddie and just wanted to do what was best for his host, truly.
Yeah.
It kind of comes down to that, which is still somewhat of a selfish move.
Yeah.
But if you look at other Marvel movies, and we'll just take Thanos, for instance, what if his plan to save the universe wasn't the snap? What if he thought of a different idea and it wasn't nearly as easily perceived as evil?
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now he's not evil Thanos. He's the guy who saved us from Tony Stark.
Yeah. 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 And that's the thing is like what makes a bad guy really good and where some of DC's movies have kind of fallen short is their bad guys don't have their they don't have a plan. They don't have a clear, defined, like, this is the only way to do this. This is what I want. I'm trying to do this, and this is the only way to do it, and this is how it has to be. Like, they don't have that. They're just like bad guys thrown out there. Their plan is not their focus.
Yeah,
That and because they don't
they're
have
evil to
that,
be for the sake of being evil.
yeah, yeah. So a really good bad guy has a plan, like Drake in this movie, like Thanos in Infinity War, like I don't know, I pick your bad guy, like hell, Cobra Commander in GI Joe in 1985, like Cobra Commander's plan, like what he wanted to do was rule the world, so that's what he was
Yeah.
doing. And somebody thought he would that's not right, you shouldn't do that, and so he's trying to stop him. It's but he had a plan. They all have plans, and that's where when you get into this idea, I kind of explained it to somebody at work. I was talking about Venom and how he fits in the uh, lawful good to chaotic evil chart. So if anyone's played Dungeons and Dragons or any RPG of sorts, you have your I even forgot what it's called, but the little box. You could be good, you could be neutral, you could be evil, you could be lawful, you could be
Your alignment.
neutral. Alignment. You could be chaotic. Okay, so you have this 3x3 grid. Captain America is lawful good. You can make that. I mean, he's follows the law and is always looking out for good. Okay, Venom is more what Deadpool is like. He's like he's more like
Chaotic
neutral.
neutral.
Yeah, chaotic neutral. Yeah, I would definitely go that. And that's where Venom sits too,
I
you
agree
know?
with that.
That's chaotic neutral. What Drake is, or I well, Drake is lawful evil. He is following his law, and he is doing things that are evil. Like, and that's where, when you get, if you go with Carnage here in this next movie, trying to circle this all back around and to make sense, Carnage is chaotic evil. He's down at this bottom and he's right next to Venom. They're not they are not so far apart. So that's where I think you come into a problem of having those two battle out against each other. I would almost rather see those two team up against a Spider-Man, which happens in the comic books quite a bit, or happened before. They've turned Venom into a hero in the comic books too, but I stopped reading those. but but you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't, I'm a little concerned. I like the idea of bringing Woody Harrelson in as Cletus Cassidy. I thought that was great. That was I like was watching this movie and my wife was asleep and I'm going, oh, that's awesome. I like that. And trying to be quiet and not wake her up. But they that I liked that idea. My concern is, if that is the villain in the second movie, is that really enough, or is it gonna put, like, is that the right bad guy for Venom? That's what I want Sony to look at. Remember what, like, look at what the character you're trying to develop. Are you trying to take Venom from the chaotic neutral, just looking to eat people and survive, and move him more to the good side? Like, are you trying to, like, what is going to make him want to stop Cletus Cassidy? Like, you can't have those characters be so similar. You've got to separate them farther in order for them to, in order for the good guy bad guy role to, or the anti-hero role for Venom to work. Otherwise you're going to just turn him into a hero. And I don't really want Venom as a hero. I want Venom as the bad guy still. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it totally makes sense. What would be cool is, Cletus goes on his rampage or continues his rampage as Carnage, and Eddie is like being his journalistic self and doing research on this, and maybe Venom kind of likes what Carnage is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Spider-Man stops him.
Yeah. That could be too. I mean, but again, that's bringing in Spider-Man into this movie. And you could easily do it. I think it would be great. I mean, bring in, you could have a Spider-Man Carnage battle going on while Venom, in a Venom movie, and Venom go, hey, wait a second, I like what he's just attacking people that deserve to die, so I'm gonna stop Spider-Man for doing that. And now you have a Carnage Venom team up against Spider-Man in a movie, and that could be really good. There it
Agreed.
is, Sony.
There
You
it
got it
is.
right there from
Trademark
Geekvice.
2019 Geekvice.
Episode 253. Come find it.
It just feels like they want it to be completely separate. So we don't,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just going
Hey,
to be he has to stop Carnage, and
yeah.
we're just going to have to like it.
Right. Right. And we'll see what they do. I mean, hey, maybe they have a big plan. Maybe I mean, they've brought in Kevin Feige to help with Spider-Man stuff. So why can't they be, tagging him to have him help with their Venom stuff too? Like like help get a master plan together for it. Make it You know, make the stories work together. That's all I ask. And don't screw it up.
Don't screw it up.
I mean, I like Venom. Venom's been one of my favorite characters for a long time. I like the symbiote idea, and me personally, I wish Spider-Man and Venom had always stayed together. Like that's one of my favorite what if comic books is what if Spider-Man didn't get rid of the symbiote. You know, that to me that's awesome. Like that power and responsibility, like that idea, that lawful good versus chaotic neutral constant battle within the same person. It's, you know, I think that's fun, and that can make for a really good movie. They just screwed it up in Spider-Man 3. So
Yeah. Well, what if the biggest twist of them all is Venom is the one that helps defeat Thanos in Endgame?
ooh, there you go. I like that idea.
Hey, why
Yeah,
not? I have no fucking idea what's going on. I might as well just throw that out there.
sure, sure. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm good with it. All right. So we've gone on long enough. You got anything else you want to throw out there?
So, I had to drive to Omaha,
Yeah.
and 29 is
Oh,
closed
yeah.
for two of the 3 hours it takes to get there.
Yep.
So I had to take. I keep calling them back roads. They're U.S. highways. They're not interstate.
Yeah, but there's still 2 lanes.
Yeah. Um. I don't know how they did it back in the day before interstates. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Every slow semi in the world was in front of me, and because nobody could take 29, they were all in front of me. And I got caught by a train. So, yeah, God bless the interstate system.
Right. Yeah.
And hopefully they fix 29 soon because I make a lot of trips to Omaha. I don't want to have to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to go up there in May for some training, and the I'm hoping that it's clear by then. They need the flooding to go down up there, that's for sure. So,
Well, yeah, it's not only that, but a lot of the pavement's been washed out.
yeah.
So they got to, it's a complete rebuild in spots. And it's like, dang it. I
Yeah.
rented an SUV. Just let me put it in 4-wheel drive and I'll take my chances. But apparently that wasn't right. So just so everybody knows, if you have to drive from Kansas City to Omaha,
Give yourself
maybe
extra
take a
time.
maybe take a different route than 29 to St. Joe, 36 to 75, and 75 to Omaha. That route sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the way everybody's going.
Yeah. So I'm gonna find a different way. Like, I don't know, drive to Des Moines and then over. Yeah, we'll turn that 3-hour drive into 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, everybody. Well, that's what we'll do here. You know, if you're looking for a movie to watch this weekend, go check out Venom. If you're looking for a game to buy, go check out Flatjacks and Sasquatches in the Kickstarter link below.
Do
Um,
it.
and if anybody has any suggestions for a comic book organizer and reader that both works on a computer and a tablet, let me know. Send me an email and at geekvice@gmail.com and let me know what your thoughts are. And I'm willing to try some other stuff that's in development. I'll even pay for it. That's the thing. I'll buy one if I have to. There's just not one out there to buy. So, all right, everybody. Go check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekvice. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow that man over there at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And as always, you can reach us by email at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for
Ta-da!
listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.